friendly neighborhood speech language pathologist and expert in children's communication development, including behavior and sensory needs. Welcome to the Chirp YouTube channel. Today we're going to have another video in our sensory needs and strategies series, and we're going to be talking about gustatory input. If you have not yet watched any of the videos in this series, you can find a playlist about sensory stuff right up here. I think it's up here. Might be over here. Our senses are the way that we experience the world. There are currently recognized 9 different sensory pathways. And in this video, we're going to talk about just one of them, the gustatory pathway. This is the pathway of taste. Of course, we explore the world through our eyes and our ears and our skin. We also explore the world through taste. Basically through that wonderful thing right there, our tongue. Now, how might you know if your child is craving some extra gustatory input? I gave you a second there to think about it because the answer is kind of obvious. If your child is constantly licking things, if your child likes exploring different tastes, different spices, different things that taste interesting, your child might need a little more gustatory input or might enjoy gustatory experiences more than your average person. Now, most of the time, it's not a problem if your child likes strongly flavored foods or very sweet things or very sour things. When it becomes a problem is if your child is licking things that can be dangerous or eating things, or that where it becomes very distracting for maybe other students in the classroom or anyone around you who might think that's a little odd. Now, of course, we are all odd, so there is no reason to judge each other for being a little quirky. And we do need to educate everyone around us that we all have unique sensory systems and we all have different needs when it comes to our sensory surroundings. And we also have to educate ourselves in how we can meet our kids' sensory needs, indeed our own sensory needs, in ways that are going to be the most functional for us. So they're not going to distract us from learning. They're not going to get in the way of social relationships. We're going to be able to have a lovely life of meaning and purpose, and we're not going to be distracted by unmet sensory needs. Okay, now let us talk about some of the ways that we can meet our gustatory needs in our sensory diet. In this case, sensory diet is actually a little even more appropriate because it has 2 meanings. Diet meaning something we eat, and diet meaning input that we give our bodies in chunks, like meals. We're going to split our sensory input into 2 different types. The type where throughout the day we provide more of this particular kind of sensory input, and the type where we chunk up this kind of sensory input and space it throughout the day so that the child gets a lot of it all at once, and then that need feels kind of filled up, sort of like your stomach. If you just graze all day long, you're probably not ever going to feel full. You'll probably still feel hungry most of the day. Whereas if you eat a meal, your stretch receptors stretch out, your stomach feels full, you feel satiated, and you don't feel hungry. That's the kind of experience we want for our kids when they have a sensory meal. I recommend that you spread out these sensory meals throughout the day, much like meal times. You can even plan them right after or right before meal times. So maybe in the morning, maybe in the early afternoon, maybe right before bed. And we want to fill these up with anything where your child could be tasting things that are interesting. So we want to think about the different extremes of taste. We want to think about sweet, sour, salty, bitter, can't think of what the other ones are, but we want to give our child a well-rounded experience of a wide variety of different tastes. So if you think about sour things, there are sour fruits that you can, kiwis, some apples, what else is sour? All sorts of fruits are sour. You can do your research on that one. Then, of course, there are sour sprays that we can experiment with. I have some linked down below, so take a look in the box down below. We also want to take a look at bitter things. There are all sorts of bitter fruits and vegetables. Maybe this is an experiment that you do before meal times when you have a little hors d'oeuvres section with your child. Maybe in the morning you can do your sensory diet time as a snack time. So we have some radishes, we have some celery, which I think is very bitter. We also have some tart things, tart cherries or citrus fruits. We also have something that's kind of minty. Maybe we chew on peppermint leaves, or we try a peppermint breath spray, or we have a peppermint candy. I don't recommend we use the candy option for most of these, even though of course there are candy flavors for every one of the different tastes that we could possibly have. But of course, they're not good for our teeth or our tummies, so we try to get these tastes met through real whole foods. We can also try textured food. One thing that our gustatory system often craves is things with texture, because you can feel them inside your mouth, not just the taste of things, but also maybe crackers that are made up of seeds, or of course vegetables and fruits, which all have an interesting texture. There are reasons why fruits and vegetables are really good for us. All of the many phytonutrients that exist in plants help our bodies to function better, fit in special little receptors in our bodies. It's amazing. Also, they are especially suited to meet our sensory needs. Just like nature meets so many of our sensory needs with the sounds and the sights and the moving around and the trees and all of this. Also, fruits and vegetables do this for our gustatory sense. We are very well suited to eating plants. The little grit in oranges gives a texture to our mouth that is hard to get through bland, mashed up food that's already pre-digested. So choose real foods, choose foods with a lot of variety of flavors in them and a lot of variety of textures in them, and your child who wants more gustatory input is going to be very happy about that. Throughout the day, if your child is having issues with licking stuff, just on a regular basis, or chewing on inappropriate things, or trying to get the taste of things that maybe shouldn't be tasted, try some of these mouth sprays. There are sour ones, there are pepperminty ones, there are citrus ones. Also, there are some healthier candy options. There are some sour beans that are like jelly beans, but they're made with healthier ingredients and no artificial colors. Try to stay away from artificial colors in anything that you feed your children, because they have been linked to behavior problems and difficulties with the brain. And especially if our child already has some excess sensory needs or some developmental delays, we don't want to add to the problem by putting weird chemicals on top of it. So try to veer, once again, towards things that have more whole ingredients in them. Although if you are on the go and your child is licking the seats at Disneyland trying to get some sensation to her gustatory sense, then go for the jelly beans because they're going to be better than licking those germ-laden seats. Throughout the day, I would keep little snacky type things, healthy versions, in my child's pockets if your child is capable of understanding when I feel like licking something that other people don't usually lick, I probably need to eat a crunchy cracker or try one of these little jelly beans or squirt something sour in my mouth or have a slice of my orange. We can talk to teachers about these things and say, this is something that we're working on at home. Hopefully you have an occupational therapist who's working on your sensory needs, your child's sensory needs with you, who's a specialist, of course, in sensory stuff, because not all occupational therapists are. Some speech therapists can help you with this, especially the gustatory sense, because it has to do with the oral cavity, which is one of our specialties. So you might have a speech pathologist working on this with you also. So tell your child's teacher, this is something we're working on. Please, if you notice anything going on with the mouth, maybe direct her towards having a slice of her orange or putting a jelly bean in her mouth or something along these lines. We're really trying to take this in a more functional direction and a safer direction. And so here are the strategies that we're using at home that seem to be working. There will be some experimentation, of course, because our children are all individuals and our sensory systems are all unique. We have most of the same parts, but they are all hooked up in very different ways. And so we have to be creative as we're trying to problem solve how to help our kids function best in the world. I always think of having an unmet sensory need like some sort of itch that just can't be scratched. And we want to help our kids scratch their unique sensory itches. I hope this video gave you some ideas on how to scratch your child's gustatory itches. Please leave any questions that you might have in the box down below. And look out for my next video, which should be coming at you very soon. Have a great day. Bye.